Mr. 𝗧𝗧𝗏. I lecture Advanced Financial Management, and today I would like to take you through a topic known as investment decisions, under conditions of capital rationing, under condition of capital rationing. Capital rationing refers to a condition whereby a firm doesn't have sufficient funds to undertake all the viable projects, and therefore in this case the firm should undertake the projects which are most viable and ignore the less viable projects. We use a capital budgeting technique known as profitability index to identify the order of viability of the project. The project with the highest profitability index should be considered first, and projects with lower profitability index should be considered later. Therefore, I'm going to use a past paper question to illustrate how conditions of capital rationing are dealt with under investment decisions. I'm going to use a past paper question of December 2012 question number 1B. The question of December 2012 question 1B reads that there is a company called Emerlex Limited that has a budget of 240 million for investments in various projects. You've been given an analysis of the projects over the useful period of from 2012 to 2018, their respective net present value and the internal rate of return. You've been told that the company's cost of capital is 10%, and then you are required to part 1, determine the projects that should be undertaken in their order of priority. That's the first part. Then the net present value and the internal rate of return of the projects to be undertaken. So in this particular case, you are supposed to first of all rank the projects. We have projects, we have 6 projects, project A all the way to project E. So you'll have a column for projects. Then we'll have a column for the initial cost outlay, then a column for present value of cash inflows, then profitability index, then the last column, ranking. So the first project is project A, B, C, D, E, and F. The initial outlay of project A is 124 million. The figures are in shillings million. 124, 128, 48 for C, 200 for D, then 24 for E, then for F it is 80. Then present value of cash inflows has not been given, but since we have the initial outlay and the NPV, the present value of cash inflows will be the initial cost plus the NPV. That would mean that, for example, for project A, the initial cost is 124 and the NPV is 11. And therefore, it would mean that the present value of cash inflows will be 124 plus the NPV plus 11. This gives me 135. Then we have another one. Again, the figures are in millions. Then we have project B, 128 plus 13.8. 128 plus 13.8. This gives me 141.8. Then we have another one. That is project C. The initial outlay is 48, NPV is 4, and therefore 48 plus 4 gives 52. Then we have another one, D, 200 initial cost outlay, NPV 14.4. So 200 plus 14.4 is 214.4. Then from there we have E, that is project E, initial cost is 24, NPV is 3.8, 24 plus 3.8 is 27.8. Then we have F, the last one, initial outlay is 80, NPV is 5.8, and therefore the present value of cash inflows is 85.8. 85.8. Therefore, to get our profitability index, we said that profitability index is given by present value of cash inflows over present value of cash outflows, or rather, the present value of cash outflows will be the initial outlay of the investment. Therefore, in this case, 135 divided by the initial outlay of 124, 135 divided by 24, divide by 124, this gives me 1.0887. 1.0887. The other one is 141.8 divided by 128, 141.8 divided by 128. This gives me 1.1078. Then we have C, 52 divided by 48, 52 divided by 48. This is 1.083, 1.083. Then we have 214.4 divided by 200, divided by 200, 214.4 divided by 200. This gives me 1.072. Then we have 27.8 divided by 24. That is 1.158. And finally, 85.8 divided by 80. This is 1.0725. Therefore, if you go to the ranking, the one with the highest profitability index is E. This is ranking number 1. Then followed by B. This is ranking number 2. Then followed by the other one which has the highest, followed by A. This is ranking number 3. Then followed by C, this is ranking number 4. Then followed by F, this is ranking number 5. And the least to be ranked will be D, that is ranking number 6. Therefore, we are going to now see how we are going to utilize the 240 million in the most viable projects. So, the first project, that is the first part of the solution of the first part of the question, but you also require to determine the resultant NPV based on the optimal allocation. Since E is ranked first, the NPV of E, so we write part Roman 2, NPV. We start with project and the resultant NPV. Project E has an NPV. If you check project E, it has an NPV of 3.8. So 3.8. Then the second one should be project B. But there is somewhere in the question that you have been told that there is no option to delay any of the projects, and all the projects except A can be scaled down. They can be divisible. Therefore, since to its divisibility nature, we are going to start, despite the fact that project B is a second to be ranked, we are going to consider A because it cannot be scaled down. Therefore, we consider project A. Project A has a resultant NPV of 11. The resultant NPV of project A is 11. As you can see, the initial cost outlay of project A, cost outlay of project A, it involved of project E, it involved an outlay of 24 million. Then project A will involve an outlay of 124. And this would mean that so far we will have spent 24 plus 124. That means we have already spent 148. And the total available funds is 240 million. Therefore, if you undertake project E fully and project A fully, you'll be left with a balance of 240. 240 minus 148. This gives me a balance of 92. However, project B requires 128 million. It requires 128 million, but you only have 92 million. Therefore, we are only going to undertake project B partially because we don't have sufficient funds. Therefore, we will undertake project B 92 over the total requirement, cash requirement of 128, and therefore we are only going to undertake project B. If you express it as a percentage, we are only going to undertake 92 over 128 times 100. This gives me 71.8%, and therefore the outlay will be 92, but the NPV will only be, the NPV of this project will be, this is 71.8%, 71.88%. NPV will be 92 over 128. The total NPV of project B would have been 11. It would have been 13.8. Therefore, times 13.8 to get the resultant NPV. So, 92 divided by 128 times 13.8. This gives me 9.92. So, NPV, resultant NPV of project B, this is B, 99.18. 98, that is 9.92. And therefore, our total resultant NPV will be 3.8 plus 11 plus 9.92. This gives me 24.72 million. The figures are in millions, and therefore the resultant NPV of the optimal allocation will be 24.72 million. So that is how you undergo a scenario whereby there is a capital rationing condition. Thank you.